Kenichi was a lonely, middle-aged office worker. One normal workday, he drank too much juice, which made him collapse and pass out. This scary health incident became the wake-up call he badly needed, so he made a big decision. He left his job, left his old life behind, and moved to the countryside to live a simple, boring life as a farmer. Quiet afternoon, while making lunch, something completely unexpected happened. He was suddenly teleported into a wide, strange forest. Panicked and anxious, Kenichi looked around, his heart beating fast, when he saw an old knight's skeleton with a sword stuck in its armor, still in its chest. Kenichi got even more worried, looking around to try to understand what this problem was and how he would get out of here. Then he remembered an anime where the main character used a status bar in a similar situation, so he decided to try the same thing. Surprisingly, a glowing status screen appeared right away, showing all his stats. At that moment, Kenichi understood that he had come to another world. Kenichi quickly started to understand this system and found out he could store and take out items through it, which seemed very useful. After a while, he got hungry. The system gave him the option to buy food and water, but there was a cost, and Kenichi had no money because he was completely broke. He got annoyed and started thinking about what to do now. Then he found a trading feature in the system, which let him give valuable things to get supplies. But right away, he realized there was nothing around to trade. Then his eyes went back to the knight's skeleton, and he focused on the sword stuck in its chest. With no other choice, he traded the sword. The system accepted it and gave him 2 cartons of milk and some bread in return. After eating, Kenichi used the leftover trade points to buy a shovel. He carefully buried the knight's remains and gave a thankful prayer for the food and the sword. Then he bought a bike and went out to explore the area, because he needed to find a town and earn money quickly. He spent the whole day collecting things and trading them for food and some basic tools. At night, Kenichi made curry and was just about to eat when a group of black wild foxes started sneaking toward him. Kenichi was filled with fear. Panicking, he searched for a solution in the system. There, he only found a box of fireworks. He threw it at the foxes, but it did nothing. He got even more scared, and after searching, he found a slingshot with unlimited bullets. He fired a few shots and chased the foxes away. He could finally breathe, but he was badly shaken, so he immediately got on his bike and left as fast as he could. The next morning, Kenichi reached the edge of the forest. He was mentally preparing himself for the challenges ahead in this new world. To find a way out, he started traveling again. Through the system, he bought a stepladder and binoculars. Climbing the ladder, he used the binoculars to look at the horizon and saw a city wall far away. This sight gave him a bit of hope, because he thought that after reaching the city, maybe he could earn money and understand the situation. With new courage, Kenichi pushed through thick bushes and walked fast toward the city. On the way, he reached a crossroads, and a fast carriage almost hit him. The carriage stopped in front of him. It was a young blonde merchant named Fu. Fu was sorry for the near accident, and seeing the heavy rain, he offered Kenichi a free ride to the city. Kenichi got in the carriage and saw there was another passenger inside. Fu said she was a traveling bard and a traveler like him. During the trip, Fu noticed Kenichi's clothes and name were strange. So out of curiosity, he asked why Kenichi was going to the city of Daya, because he suspected Kenichi was not local. Kenichi avoided the question and only said he was going for business. After a while, they reached the city gates. Kenichi helped Fu and started unloading boxes from the carriage. In return, Fu gave him a small pouch as payment. Kenichi opened the pouch and saw black pepper inside. His face turned serious, and Fu warned him that carrying spices openly was dangerous. Fu explained that the Spice Syndicate had a tight monopoly, and keeping spices without the right connections was risky. Even after the warning, Fu told Kenichi he would buy the black pepper, but Kenichi insisted that he was giving it as a gift. Fu refused and said that as a merchant, he was happy to get things cheap, but he never took anything for free. He gave Kenichi 3 silver coins for the pepper, then got back on his carriage and left. He was surprised and also felt a new sense of luck inside him. Now his first priority was to find a place to sleep, so he went to an inn. At the inn, he met a female attendant named Elia. She welcomed him, took him to the service counter, and explained the room options and payment methods. After getting a room, Elia asked Kenichi to write his name in the guest register. At that moment, Kenichi realized he could not read or write the language of this world. Embarrassed, he told Elia about his problem. Elia listened carefully and warned him that if he was weak in basic things, like reading and writing, the Merchants Guild would never accept him as a registered merchant. Kenichi quickly explained that he knew how to read, write, and do math, but not in this country's writing system. To prove himself, Elia gave him a math question, and Kenichi solved it easily. After that, Kenichi asked if she could teach him how to read and write in this country's language, and as a reward, he gave her some candy. Elia was happy and agreed right away. While talking, Kenichi found out that he was in a kingdom called Kaden, where the system was ranked and nobles and a king ruled. Kenichi spent most of the night with Elia and found out that the language of this country was not much different from his Japanese. Lying in bed, Elia was impressed by his speed and, with a slight blush, said she was sure he would become a good merchant. Elia rested for a while, so Kenichi got bored and made a portrait sketch of her. When he showed the drawing, Elia was surprised at how real it looked. Remembering Kenichi's kindness so far, Elia blushed again and gently pulled him onto the bed to thank him in her own way. Later that day, Kenichi went downstairs and reached the guild center. There, the receptionist gave him a handwritten registration form. At first, he was surprised that it was handwritten. Then he understood that printing technology did not exist here yet. He filled out his details and gave the form back. The receptionist validated the form, but said that the guild registration fee was 1 silver coin, which was about 50,000 yen. Hearing this, Kenichi took a deep breath, because he knew he did not have enough money. He asked if he could pay in installments, and the receptionist agreed, which made him feel much better. Then she gave him his guild card, which was a simple metal piece with a crystal in the middle, and talked to different merchants to learn the prices of things and possible profit chances. Then he went back to the inn and decided to make a more comfortable bed to improve his stay. Elia watched him from a distance, impressed by his carpentry and also by how hard and carefully he worked. While working, Kenichi used strong and different design clothespins, and Elia noticed them. Curious, she came closer and asked if she could buy a few, because the thin cloth pins she had broke easily. This gave Kenichi an idea, and he started to see that these cloth pins could be a profitable product. The next day, Kenichi set up a stand in the local market and started selling the cloth pins. The stand next to his was run by a woman named Anima. A short time after business started, Anima herself came and bought a few cloth pins from Kenichi. Kenichi was surprised, so Anima calmly said there was no problem if stand neighbors bought from each other. This way, they introduced themselves and got to know each other. Kenichi's cloth pin business became a huge success on the very first day. Customers kept coming, and Kenichi was very happy. Anima was happy too and thanked him because the crowd at Kenichi's stand also brought more customers to her stand. Later, Kenichi looked at his earnings and was surprised to find that he had made more than 15,000 yen profit in just one day, which was a big amount by local standards. This success made him sure that just by selling cloth pins, he could build a stable and running life. As soon as Kenichi finished counting his earnings, another customer came to his stand. It was a tall, blond man with a sword hanging at his waist, and he looked like an important person. He kept looking at the things on the stand, then asked if Kenichi had a knife suitable for fighting. Kenichi showed him a fine blade. The man looked at it closely. The weapon was brand new and clean, but something did not seem right, because it was too small for him. He asked if Kenichi had something bigger. Kenichi nodded and showed him a long broadsword. The man was immediately impressed and was surprised by the quality and craftsmanship of the sword. He wanted to buy it and asked the price. Kenichi asked for 1 gold coin. The blond man hesitated because the price seemed high, but the sword was so beautiful that he could not leave it. Suddenly, a purple-haired cat girl appeared from somewhere and licked his face. Kenichi was shocked by this and stepped back, falling to the ground. Seeing his reaction, the blond man quietly understood that Kenichi had probably never seen beast folk before. He calmly explained to Kenichi that people like cat girls were normal in this world. A short time later, more beast folk arrived and apologized for their sister's sudden behavior. One of them climbed on Kenichi's stand, picked up a cloth lying there, and excitedly announced that they would buy it. Kenichi first said that the cloth was not for sale, but then he saw a chance to make money and changed his mind. He sold the cloth for 9 copper coins, including a 1 copper discount. The beast folk did not have the full amount. Kenichi said it was no problem and calculated the change for them himself. The beast folk looked at him with suspicion, thinking maybe the calculation was wrong. The blond man spoke up and confirmed that Kenichi's calculation was exactly right. Satisfied, the beast folk paid, took the cloth, and left. Seeing Kenichi's honesty and intelligence, the blond man finally bought the sword too. On the other side of the city, the maid who bought cloth pins from Kenichi showed them to her employer. Margaret said these pins could be used in the mansion and would make the maid's work much easier. Primura happily agreed and said they should buy more. Then she took the idea further and thought she could sell these cloth pins through her own company because it looked like a big profit chance. Excited, she left right away to get permission from her father. That evening, Kenichi was washing himself by the well and wished he could take a hot bath. He decided he would have to make a way himself. He checked his store to see what could help him make a hot bath and saw a barrel for sale. He thought he could fill the barrel with water and put it over a fire to get a hot bath again. If this idea worked, maybe he could make a profit from it too. All this aside, Kenichi was getting a lot of benefit from his online store screen, but he had no idea how the system really worked or how the packages reached him. He truly felt all this was too good, and he was afraid that maybe the system would later ask for his soul as payment. Then he thought there was no use thinking about it now, so he decided to sleep. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, a young girl named Naaman was running. The next day, Kenichi prepared his shop and made some changes to his inventory. He added some jewelry. These were not real precious stones, but they looked nice and he thought he could make a little profit from them. At the same time, the maid from yesterday, Margaret, came and said she was there to buy more cloth pins. Kenichi asked how many she wanted and she asked for 100. Kenichi was shocked, but since she had the money ready, he made the deal. While Kenichi was packing the pins, Margaret noticed the jewelry. She asked if they were real diamonds. Kenichi said they were made from polished glass, but they still looked good. Margaret said to reserve one for her so she could come back and buy it later. The day went normally, but just as Kenichi was about to close his shop, the beast folk from yesterday returned. This time, they looked quite serious, and Kenichi started to worry that maybe they had come to beat him up. But Miley came closer to him and confidently told the others she could clearly smell spices on him. The other beast folk got excited and impatiently asked Kenichi to sell them some spices. Even with their excitement, Kenichi hesitated because he had heard about the spice syndicate and did not know how they worked or what they would do if they found out he was selling spices. It all seemed too risky. The beast folk kept begging him to make an exception for them, but people nearby stepped in and explained that it was wrong to expect a newcomer like Kenichi to risk his shop and business for them. Hearing this, the beast folk understood and backed off. Kenichi could not sell them spices, but if he just shared a meal with them, no rule would be broken. So he invited them to eat with him, but it would not be in the city. They would go out toward the forest, so there would be no unwanted attention. The beast folk were very happy to hear this. That night, they all met with Kenichi and Anima outside the city to start cooking. Kenichi was just about to cook when Anima asked if she could help. Kenichi told her to cut the vegetables. But Anima was surprised by how fresh, shiny, and juicy the vegetables looked. Kenichi said he got them from a foreign country and guaranteed they tasted very good. While Kenichi and Anima worked on the vegetables, Miley and the other beast folk went to the riverbank to catch fish. In a short time, they caught enough fish. When all the ingredients were ready, Kenichi prepared the fish, put spices on it, and put everything in a pot to cook. The result was a meal the beast folk went crazy for. They had never tasted flavors like this before, and they were extremely thankful for the food. But after eating such delicious food, they also got a strong desire for alcohol. Anima told them to control themselves because alcohol was expensive. But Kenichi did not see it as a big problem. So he took out a cheap bottle of alcohol and poured them a few glasses. In return, he made them promise not to tell anyone what he cooked or how he cooked it. Anima warned Kenichi that he was being too generous, but Kenichi did not think it was wrong, because the beast folk seemed like good people to him. That night, they all drank together, bathed together, and finally fell asleep under the stars. Miley started to really like Kenichi now. The next morning, when Kenichi returned to the inn, Ilya was a little angry because he had stayed out all night. Kenichi tried to explain that he was just spending time outside the city with some beast folk, but when Ilya saw cat lady fur on his jacket, she thought Kenichi had not just spent time, but had done something else too, and got even more upset that he did all this with a cat lady instead of her. Later that day, when Kenichi was setting up his shop again, Margaret came to him with Primura. Kenichi paused for a moment, stunned by Primura's beauty, then noticed Margaret standing behind her and realized they were probably here to buy the necklace from yesterday. He took out the necklace and gave it. Margaret paid and handed it to Primura to look at. Primura was so impressed by the craftsmanship that she could not believe it was not a real diamond necklace. Then she asked Kenichi if he had more necklaces like this. In response, Kenichi took out several more pieces from his collection and showed her. Primura was very impressed by the quality of Kenichi's products and also by the fact that he had an item box. Then she made a request. She said she was the daughter of the owner of Mo Trading Company, and if Kenichi wanted, she could introduce him to her father. Kenichi liked the idea of meeting the owner of a big trading company, but he was nervous about meeting important people, worried it might cause trouble for him. But Anima told him that Primura's father was known in the city for his good character, and people said he was a good man, so Kenichi would have no problem with him. Hearing this, Kenichi agreed. Primura invited him to sit in her carriage so they could go meet her father. On the way, Primura showed Kenichi some replica cloth pins she had made. The wood part was easy for her craftsmen to make, but the metal clamp was so thin and complicated that they could not copy it properly. Kenichi understood why they had trouble, because he himself did not fully know how the springs were made. He just knew it was a complicated process. Finally, they reached Primura's house, and Kenichi was surprised by its huge size. Primura calmly said that compared to the homes of other nobles in the area, her house was actually pretty simple. They went inside, and Kenichi met Primura's father, Mo. They greeted each other, and Mo told Kenichi to sit down so they could start talking. When Kenichi sat down and got settled, he showed Mo some of his jewelry. Mo was just as impressed as Primura had been. Then Primura told him that Kenichi also had an item box, and Mo found this interesting because he had an item box too. Mo said that it was because of this item box that he had taken his trading company to such a high level. So if Kenichi used it properly, he could also become very successful, although right now Kenichi was only using it to store his supplies. The real reason Mo wanted to meet Kenichi was to discuss the possibility of making Kenichi an official supplier for Mo Company. Kenichi already expected such a proposal might come, and he thought Mo's plan would be to market these things for maximum profit. But Kenichi wondered, if that was the goal, why didn't Mo just buy things from his shop at a cheap price and then resell them later? Mo explained that he could do that, but it would be a dishonest business move, and if Kenichi ever found out they were reselling his goods without his permission, Kenichi would definitely get angry. Besides, going directly to Kenichi gave Mo a strategic advantage against his competitors because later on, other people would also try to make similar deals with him. Mo said he wanted to start partnership negotiations and offered Kenichi 50% of the retail price for his items. Kenichi could push for a better deal if he wanted, but he was fine with it inside because he was already making huge profits from his online screen. He accepted Mo's offer. Then they shook hands, and Kenichi signed an official supply contract. The first few items he supplied to Mo earned him more than 1 million yen worth in coins. Meanwhile, when Primura saw the beautiful jewelry Kenichi had, she really liked it. She asked her father if she could buy this jewelry from Kenichi for herself. Mo had no problem, so Primura offered Kenichi 10 gold coins for it, which was equal to 2 million yen. For the first time since coming to this world, Kenichi had an 8-digit amount of money. Since everything was going so well, Kenichi decided it was time to set up his peaceful life, so he bought a house from his store. The next day, he left the city walls and went into the forest to find a good place for his new house. Before leaving, he told Elia his plan so she would not worry. But Elia found it strange that Kenichi was choosing to live in the dangerous forest instead of the safety of the city. Kenichi finally found a good spot, so he bought a weed whacker and started clearing the area, but he immediately saw a problem. Most things in his store were available at a fair price, but fuel was expensive in every world. With no other choice, he just put up with it and kept working, until he cleared a path through the forest to get in and out. After that, he had to remove all the trees, so he bought a chainsaw and started cutting them down. After many hours of hard work, he cut down enough trees, and now he just had to move them out of the way. But when he tried to put the trees in his item box, it did not work because the trees were too long to fit inside. Then he had to take up the chainsaw again and cut them into smaller pieces. He finally cut the trees into 10-meter logs. In this way they fit in the item box, so the tree removal was almost finished. Now only the stumps were left, but this was very hard work and the sun was going down, so he decided to finish it the next day. The next day, he went back to the forest and started digging out the stumps, but after a while, he realized this job was too tough for a middle-aged man like him. Instead of risking his back, he decided to buy a bulldozer. As soon as he saw the bulldozer, he realized he had just spent 2 million yen on heavy machinery just to avoid manual labor. He felt a little regret, but at the same time, he thought maybe not breaking his back was actually a smart investment. He started the bulldozer, but then found out it ran on diesel and there was no diesel in his store. This made him nervous because if he could not use it after spending so much money, it would be a huge loss. He thought for a while and realized maybe he could mix kerosene and some additives to make his own diesel. But when he tried, he realized if the mix ratio was wrong, the bulldozer engine could get damaged. So to stay safe, he decided to test his mix in a diesel generator first. He filled the generator and started it, and it worked fine, so he was sure his homemade diesel would work in the bulldozer too. Kenichi thought he would have to do something about all the bugs here too, so the next day he went to a local magic shop in the city to buy insect-repelling magic stones. As soon as he entered the shop, the wizard owner welcomed him and asked where he was from since he had never seen him here before. Kenichi said he was a foreigner who had just opened a shop in the city and he was there to buy insect-repelling stones. The wizard told him the stones cost 3 silver coins, which was quite expensive. The wizard had never seen oranges before, so he thought they were some rare and exotic fruit, and because of this trade, he agreed to give Kenichi a discount. Later that day, Kenichi talked with Amma. Amma told him that the wizard was very knowledgeable and someone it was useful to be friends with. Then she said this wizard was the complete opposite of another person named Shaga, whose posters were all over the city. Shaga was the leader of a notorious bandit group and had a big bounty on his head. That same night, Shaga raided a carriage carrying slaves, and everyone started to wonder what he was going to do with those slaves. The next day, Kenichi went back to the forest, now excited to use the bulldozer. As soon as he started working, all his regrets about the purchase disappeared because he realized how much easier the machine made his work, and running it was surprisingly fun too. He felt that now nothing stood in the way of his dream of a peaceful life in the forest. But after spending so much on the bulldozer, his finances were almost finished, so he had to pause further construction for a while. A little later, Kenichi met Mo and Primura again, hoping to make a good profit by selling them salt and sugar. Mo tasted the sugar and was impressed by its quality, but he could not buy it from Kenichi, because the state held the trading rates for salt and sugar. If Mo bought from an unlicensed source, he could get into big trouble. But the good thing was that the jewelry Kenichi had sold to Mo earlier was selling fast, so Mo was immediately ready to buy more. This time, the extra jewelry Kenichi sold earned him 15 gold coins, which was about 3 million yen. With this new wealth, Kenichi finally had enough money to buy the log cabin he saw in a store. He was still surprised the store sold whole cabins, and for just 17 million yen. It still seemed too good to be true, but he did not want to miss the chance, so he bought the log cabin. Unfortunately, as soon as he bought the cabin, it felt like it came from Walmart, because suddenly a mountain of wooden planks fell on him, along with instructions he could not understand at all. He sat down and tried to read the instructions himself, and just as he feared, putting the cabin together was going to be a huge headache. But since he had already paid, he had no other choice, so he started working. While Kenichi was building, the same beast folk he had helped before happened to pass by. As thanks, they decided to help him. Several weeks passed, and with the help of the beast folk, Kenichi kept making progress on the log cabin, while also running his stall. After a little less than a month of hard work, the cabin was finally finished. Kenichi knew he could not have finished so quickly without the beast folk, so to thank them, he held a barbecue party for them. But even after the cabin was built, Kenichi still had a lot of work left, like painting the walls and roof and setting up electricity. It took him another month to set up the necessary things, but when everything was done, his house became fully self-sufficient. He put a fence around his house and farm, and for electricity, he set up some solar panels. When his dream home was finished, to celebrate, the first thing he did was take a hot bath, though he still had to solve the indoor plumbing because he had to make several bike trips to fill water for bathing. The next morning, Kenichi went to the inn to tell Elia he had finished the cabin in the forest and would not be staying at the inn anymore. Elia was a little surprised, because she did not think Kenichi was actually serious about building a house in the forest. Still, she was happy for him and proud that he had reached one of his goals, even if it meant she would not see him as much as before. The next day, Kenichi woke up in his cabin. The weather was beautiful, so he decided to go out and take pictures of the local flowers. But his peaceful outing suddenly stopped when an arrow whistled past him, almost hitting him. Kenichi panicked and fell off his bike, but the attack did not stop. More arrows came, and he was forced to hide behind a tree. Then he realized the attackers were a new group of beast folk living in the forest. They explained that they were out hunting and attacked him instinctively, thinking he was a threat. But even after realizing he was the human who built the cabin in the forest, they still stayed hostile and decided to kill him anyway. Kenichi did not understand why these beast folk were after him, but he was not going to let them do it quietly. He took out a slingshot from his inventory and fired at them. The beast folk were shocked to see this weak-looking human fighting back and started to rethink their actions. Then Kenichi escalated things. He threw fireworks at them and even took out his excavator. Seeing this, they decided they were not interested in finding out what else he could do, and ran away immediately. Kenichi was left confused by the whole situation, but suddenly he heard the painful cry of an injured animal. It was under a tree with an arrow in its leg. Kenichi realized if he did not do something quickly, it would not survive much longer. He carefully approached the wounded cat, but it growled at him and clearly did not trust his intentions. Kenichi did not want to get bitten, so he spent some money to buy cushion armor for safety. When he tried to pull out the arrow, the cat could not resist much, as if it had lost all its strength. This made it easier for Kenichi to treat it. He bought alcohol to clean the wound and then applied antibiotic cream. The wound was treated, but leaving it in the forest gave no guarantee it would survive, so Kenichi decided to take it to his home. Kenichi put out a blanket for the cat, but even after treatment, it did not move an inch, so Kenichi started to worry. He had not seen any veterinary doctor in the city, but thought maybe there was some healing magic, so he went to consult the wizard. The wizard listened and guessed the animal was probably a bobcat. But instead of helping, he said it would be better for Kenichi to kill it and sell its fur for a good profit. Kenichi realized the wizard was of no use to him in this matter, so he left. At that moment, Miley happened to be passing by. She jumped at Kenichi and started sniffing him. She smelled bobcat on him, and since her people saw bobcats as messengers of God, she got very excited and wanted to see it for herself. She went with Kenichi to his house, and as soon as she saw the bobcat, she immediately understood the wound was caused by Dogbeast folk, so she swore she would take revenge on them. Meanwhile, the bobcat was getting a bit better, but kept trying to lick its wound, so Kenichi had to put a cone on its head. Miley was impressed by Kenichi's care skills and asked if he was a doctor. To thank him for saving the bobcat, Miley went out, hunted quickly, and brought back some bird meat as a gift. Kenichi grilled it and made dinner. After eating, Miley was tired and asked if she could stay the night. Kenichi asked if it was okay for her to leave her responsibilities, but Miley said right now she cared more about the bobcat than her duties. Kenichi let her stay, but since he only had one bed, Miley said they should share it. Somehow during the night, Miley ended up on top of Kenichi. A few days later, the bobcat looked much healthier, so Kenichi decided now he could start work on his farm. He could easily buy plants and tools, but water was a problem. Going to the river every time to water the crops would be too painful and difficult. His first idea was to make a well with a pump, but he was too tired, so he left this job for another day.